much, Stu. All right, can everybody hear me? I'm gonna need, so we're gonna use the chat function today. I've learned the hard way that when we're presenting things like this, basically, it's like Sophie's Choice, where like I have to make decisions around, do I want my clicker or do I want my hand mic? I'm gonna choose chat. Great, welcome. If anybody is not on mute, it would be great if everybody went on mute. And I think the last thing I have to do is just go here into present mode, and we are gonna rock and roll. So, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. And the last thing I have to do is pull up the chat. Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay and Crystal and Luann. So excited to be here. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. When we were just doing the sort of housekeeping items, I actually went on mute. I turned my video off, and I held my pod over here, and I literally just pulled up my phone, went on Headspace, and did a two-minute SOS, feeling overwhelmed. So it is an absolute privilege to be here speaking to you guys, because I have become I want to say, borderline maniacally obsessed user of the product, especially in the last probably the last month, and I'm going to share with you why. I also have been gifting Headspace subscriptions to kind of everybody, not only just in my close circle, but I'm talking like from the woman that did my nails over the weekend that we talked about Headspace with, to the server at the restaurant the other night, to basically everyone that I've been interacting with, because that's how passionate I am about Headspace and the product. So I'll talk about why in a minute. I also want to let you know I am not in my house right now. And what you see behind me is not an original piece of art. You probably will find it at any Courtyard Marriott anywhere in the world, because I have had construction crews working on an apartment on my property here in Boulder so that family and friends can come visit. And they broke the Wi-Fi on Saturday by literally cutting through the cable. And we have been living in a personal hotspot off my phone situation, my partner and I, for 48 hours. It's driving us bananas. And I was like, I'm checking into a hotel because I need to make sure that I bring my A game to talk to Headspace on Monday. I also have an interview tomorrow with someone I'll talk about in a little bit for the podcast. So those are my housekeeping items. What I would love for you guys to use is the chat function while I'm talking, because it makes me feel like I'm not just at a Courtyard Marriott speaking to the wall. I definitely want to leave time at the end for questions. So maybe right now we could do a little test. And my assumption is that everyone that works at Headspace is super zen, that everyone talks in kind of like a quiet voice, that everyone is sort of dialed at like a nice zone 3, which, if anybody knows me, like, that's not me. I'm working very hard with Headspace to like bring the system down. But yeah, like Lindsay Schaefer, I have a tough time keeping my volume dialed down, and my energy is typically pretty ramped. So I would like to ask everyone, sounds like there are some people who, Samantha is like, I get it. So my ask of you right now, and this is going to test the chat function, is, are you guys okay with me bringing my authentic self to this little session and potentially getting a little amped up and maybe talking kind of loudly and getting excited? Okay, I'm being told I came to the right place. Yes, please, absolutely, yes. Okay, Jason says, yeah, Heidi. Oh, Heidi gave me like a yes caps. Authentic self all the way. Okay, so +1. Okay, guys, then we're gonna get into it, because guess what? I'm wearing a new pair of Jordans. I feel super glam today. This is my glamour wig that never gets to come out. I'm usually wearing sport wig, which is a shorter wig that comes out pretty much every day. But I'm feeling good and I'm excited and we're going to go full send. I appreciate everybody being on board with this. So first, just to tell you, who is this girl? Who is this woman? Why should we listen to her? Well, I'll show the J's Joseph maybe at the end. That'll be, if everybody's engaged, I'll show it at the end. So I am you guys. I spent 20 years working in tech for only 3 companies, because for me, the company and the product and the people far outweighed the money, the job title, the opportunity to skip steps in the crazy ladder that is especially SF tech. I started my career in sales, just like you guys. I'll call it B2B sales, and it was B2B. But basically, I was selling the idea back in 2002 of convincing event directors of 5Ks and marathons and then other different types of events that they should stop sending out their registration form via paper. They should basically offer online registration. And the bulk of my sale was like trying to convince these event directors that it was safe to put your credit card information online. So like, I'm old. Okay, I'm 40. This is 40. Ugh, what a year. So that's where I started at Active. It was awesome to work with other people that were super passionate about health and fitness and athletes, because I've been an athlete my whole life and still consider myself an athlete. I was moved through the sales ranks quickly and ended up basically making the case. Active grew through acquisition, not organically. So we started scooping up all of these different companies that were basically doing online payment processing for anything involving activities. And I essentially made the case that with no sales training and enablement, it was going to be a huge loss of time and revenue for us if we didn't properly assimilate these new sales teams from all these companies that we were buying up like all over the world. So I kind of wedged myself in and I started building sales training and delivering and testing out sales training programs internally. And eventually I ended up becoming the first and building a team where I ran global sales training and enablement at Active. And it basically was a boondoggle to allow myself to travel all over the world and basically get to spend a week in these places, because I built a 5-day boot camp program to basically train these new sales teams on the culture of Active and how we sell, basics on the products. In retrospect, it was freaking brilliant. And I had a blast. And I was at Active for the greater part of 10 years, with the exception of a 2-year departure when I actually started what should have been a nonprofit, but I started it as a business called Active Recovery. And it was basically holistic health services that were outsourced, that I brought into basically hospitals, drug and alcohol rehab centers, sober living facilities, to help people who were in recovery start to integrate more healthy things into their lives. So then I moved to San Francisco. So I was in San Diego. I was in Glassdoor. I was recruited to basically start sales enablement there, like I did at Active, even though I was like, I don't want to do this. I should be in marketing, even though I have no real marketing experience. I know it's like the place where I should be. So I essentially can we curse or no? Do we curse here or no? Can someone tell me? We try not to? I say yes.
We have a bleeping mechanism.
Oh, we're recording it. So then no, of course, this is just like my podcast where I don't want to have to put an E on it for explicit. So I basically was hired by Glassdoor. I decided to kick butt and prove to them that I could kill. And then that worked. And within a year, I was asked to basically become the first B2B marketing leader for Glassdoor, and built that from the ground up, built brand and creative and consumer research and consumer insights, and had an amazing ride at Glassdoor. Like Glassdoor has my heart. That was a fantastic ride. I then got recruited by MindBody, which is a wellness tech company that powers a lot of small businesses, but also now large businesses in the fitness, health, wellness, spa, salon space. I was hired to become their first vice president of consumer marketing and basically turn a 10-year B2B company into a true marketplace company, which, as you guys know, is not an easy task. Requires typically time and also a huge investment of money. But over the course of 2.5 years there, I was able to introduce them to the power of kind of omni-channel marketing, brand advertising, how if kind of layered in with a really strong performance marketing function, you can actually drive growth on both sides of consumer and B2B. And I successfully proved out a local market test model where I went from a couple $1 million of budget over a year to getting the green light to run a national ad campaign at about 20x the budget, and launched that in the fall of 2019. It was beginning to drive growth the beginning of 2020. As late as the beginning of March, and my programs and my team were sort of the darlings of MindBody. And then COVID hit. And 2 weeks later, I was laid off along with the other vice president of B2B marketing. So just sharing that background with you, that I understand where you're coming from. I know both B2B and consumer. I know hypergrowth environments. And also, I like to gamble, and I made 3 really strong bets on these 3 companies because all 3 of them had billion-dollar exits. Active went public, Glassdoor got acquired for 1.2 billion. MindBody went from public when I joined it to getting acquired by Vista for close to 2 billion. So I get you guys. I get the world that's going on, and the world in 2020 for all of us has been quite a year, right? We've lost some really special people like Kobe and RBG and Chadwick Boseman. And also most recently, although I'm honestly not accepting it yet, Alex Trebek. That was really hard. We've had COVID, which, right? Bananas, racial injustice, murder hornets. Does anyone know that we have more murder hornets? Like, there are hornets that can murder people. It's a real thing. I talked about it when I spoke at the Next Web, which was a European tech conference. Apparently, the murder hornets did not make their way across the pond because it was crickets when I asked. But basically, also wildfires, which in Boulder, for anybody that didn't know, let's see. For anybody that didn't know, I was a mile from the closest evacuation zone at one point, had all of my things packed, and was trying to negotiate with my partner how many bikes she was able to bring and which ones. So it's been a year, right, for everybody. I definitely would say probably 1 out of 5, although I would say based on the political climate currently that I would definitely up that to like a 3 out of 5. Which is just my personal opinion, but it's been a very happy couple weeks. And this is kind of like a funny joke, but not really, because, you know, we are essentially facing a second pandemic, which is a pandemic of our country and really our world's mental health, as you guys probably know better than anybody, right? Depression rates in the US, self-reported, right, have tripled. And it especially impacts groups that are in the sort of lower income brackets, those who have experienced job loss, those who've had less than $5,000 in savings, and independent of all of that, those who have had, those who are parents, and I'm not. I'm just like a dog mom with a very anxious special needs mini Labradoodle named Birdie. And I can like barely handle that, right? And you guys are at home probably working, according to Bloomberg, probably 3 hours more every day than you did before the pandemic. You're probably working with a spouse who's doing the same thing, working full time. You might have some kids that maybe they were in school, maybe they are being homeschooled now or having to go virtual because COVID is going through the roof in certain areas. I know it's going through the roof here in Boulder. And you might have like a dog or two dogs, maybe a cat. I don't know, other pets. Like basically, I talk to my friends all the time who have kids and they work full time and so do their spouses. And like, it's mayhem. And I don't know how everybody's doing it. I don't. And then on top of that, for you guys, oh my God, you're not working for like a normal company. You're working for Headspace, which is like independent of like the service that you're delivering to people, which is incredible. The freaking growth. And I don't know if these numbers are correct and I didn't source it and I'm sorry, but like, I don't have time to waste. But basically that was just in my own research where I was like, holy crap, you guys are living in the world that I knew and I lived. And it is bananas. And doubling even specifically your, let's see, like even going from doubling the number of B2B clients you have, like in 2 years, now you have 1,400 right. So like, these aren't right. How many customers do you guys have today? These numbers are not vetted. Got it. Sorry. I literally just found it online. They're fake. So these are fake numbers. This is fake news. Since we're going to be recording this is fake news and basically a placeholder of fakeness. So these numbers were not vetted by anybody. It was just me. All I'm trying to say is when I think about these things, I think about you guys are probably dealing with pressure. You have OKRs. I heard someone just mention that you're going to start integrating QBRs, which I know very well, that are going to quarterly business reviews. So you're going to have QBRs, you're going to have OKRs, you're going to have aggressive targets, right? You're going to have bandwidth issues where you have to do more with less, potentially. I don't know, I'm guessing. And then there's the burnout risk, right? Even without the pandemic that you guys are dealing with. So I don't know what it's like to live in your world. I've lived in some of it before I haven't lived in it in the pandemic, but I've had a year too. And I will share a little bit about my story here so that it makes a bit of sense. But in 2018, I'm an executive at MindBody. I had just relocated down to San Luis Obispo. And is everybody with me? Can I just get like a yes or I want to make sure that everybody's with me. You're here. Yes. Great. Okay, great. When people weren't chatting, I basically was like, oh gosh, did I screw up the chat? Okay. All right. So yeah, cancer sucks. 2018, I am living in San Luis Obispo. I am like new chapter, like I'm going to work for MindBody and I'm going to like help change the world through like modern wellness tech. And like, I'm going to help build the marketplace. And I'm so excited and jazzed. And I'm there for a couple months, having moved down there from Marin County in San Francisco. And I do a 10-mile trail run. And the next day, I get diagnosed because I had found a lump and I was like, I'm not worried about it. Like, whatever. I'm 38 years old. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm like, people say I'm like the healthiest person they know. Everything's fine. I do a 10-mile run, feel a little fatigued, but like, you know, whatevs. And yeah, the next day I get diagnosed with stage 3-ish. Some would call it stage 4 at that point, but stage 3, triple negative breast cancer. And triple negative breast cancer, there's like all different kinds of breast cancer, but triple negative is basically the most rare. It affects the least number of those diagnosed with breast cancer. And the part that blows is that it is the least available treatment options. So a lot of common drugs and a lot of common chemo and immunotherapy treatments and things like that can attack the hormones and the cells with people that have other types of breast cancer. With triple negative, that's a no-go. So got the news in September of 2018. I went through 15 months of treatment. So I did 5 months of chemo. I did a mastectomy back at Dana-Farber in Boston. And I then did 6 weeks of daily radiation and 6 months of oral chemo. Somebody went off mute and that's okay, but if they could go back on mute, thank you. It helps me stay focused. So we're at the end of 2019. Dear Lord, that was a year ago. Oh, so much has happened since then. I moved to Boulder with my partner because basically as we end cancer treatment, I go, we got to get out of here because I now just associate this place with cancer. I want to go. I try and quit MindBody. They don't let me. I have a great relationship with my who was my CMO at MindBody, and he basically goes, "You want to move to Boulder? Move to Boulder. Just go remote." And I was like, "Okay." I was running a remote team based out of San Diego anyway, and they didn't want to lose me, so I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm not quitting." And I moved to Boulder in November. I was working really hard. I was also skiing on weekdays, kind of secretly, which was, as a snowboarder, pretty much my dream, to be able to ski weekdays and basically like take breaks to like write emails and stuff that I kept in my backpack. And everything was going great. I got selected for TEDx Grand Canyon University, which was a big one. I spoke there in February, and on my website at notimetowasteproject.com, I think you can go to speaker and then you'll see TEDx, or you'll see it on the front. But I did this TEDx talk called Confronting Death to Live a Fuller Life. And I talked a lot about the research around terror management theory and death anxiety, and basically was going to kick off with basically like all of the data and research around why we as humans have such a difficult time confronting our mortality when it is the only universal inevitability that also affects every single one of us, right? Regardless of race, religion, creed, socioeconomic status. And yet, like, we don't talk about it and we tend to avoid it. And COVID and the pandemic is now creating this like kind of like low general buzz of anxiety, I feel like, where people the whisper of death is louder globally than I feel like it's ever been before. So this brings us to this year. Everything's going great. I'm starting to get inbound requests to keynote things. I'm supposed to go to Amsterdam to speak at the Next Web, which is this big conference. I planned this awesome epic trip for my dad and I to take like a father-daughter trip after in Europe and go to Switzerland. And I'm just like, we're doing great. And in February, my oncologist is like, I think you have like an 85% chance of outrunning this thing. We are no evidence of disease. All of my scans, which were from the neck down, like showed clean. And I was like, rock and roll. I'm ready for this to be part of my past, but I'm also ready to get this message of living like there's no time to waste out there. Because if I've spent 18 years on stages, basically doing commercials for the companies where I worked, right? emceeing things and keynoting things and panels, and I always was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if I could speak about something that's far more personal and something that has more of an impact on the world? Well, the universe was like, here you go. And I was like, I don't want that. And they were like, well, this is what you get. But I'm here, and everything was going great, and I'm booking these keynotes, and I was like, maybe I could like break free from the corporate ranks and like just get like paid like millions of dollars to be a speaker, and I'll write a book. And these were like the plans. I'm not writing a book. It just takes too long, and I'm just like, that's just not my thing. And then in April of this year, I started to have some cognitive processing challenges, where I was mixing up words, and long story short, very quickly, my brain function deteriorated between March and April over a 6-week period. I was laid off from MindBody, which was independent of my performance. And I found myself, apparently my partner described it like, I went from a steak knife to a butter knife to a spoon. And it was really scary for her. And we kind of went to the oncologist April 22nd. went for a brain scan. He's like, let's just get you scanned. Let's just do your brain. We had never scanned my brain before because I never had any symptoms. I was kind of overscanned. My doctors in Boulder thought, and there was no reason. I got a brain scan on April 22nd. I was walking out to meet my partner because of COVID. She couldn't come inside. And they chased after me in the parking lot and they said, stop. You have to take this disc over to your oncologist right now. He's waiting for you at the cancer center. And we walked over to the cancer center. We knew this was not great news. I went up alone because, again, my partner couldn't come in because of COVID. And I found out in that conversation that I had a brain tumor the size of a lemon in the frontal lobe of my brain. The swelling was significant and they needed to get me in for surgery immediately to save my life. That was April 22nd. My family flew in on the next flight from Philadelphia, and my sister flew in from New York. I had emergency brain surgery on the 23rd, and I don't remember very much, but long story short, the surgery was a complete success. I attribute it completely to my really just awesome neurosurgeon. That was just chance that I got paired up with him. And I started the sort of brain recovery period, which went from, May and June. And I went from, just going, which is just my nature, to having to slow down, having to read paper books, having to stop looking at screens all the time. Basically all the things that I used to sort of make fun of, like Ariana Huffington for, where she would always be like, and I met her once because I used to produce events for Glassdoor, and she was our keynote, and I spent some time with her, and she'd be like, Alison, you need to put your phone in a phone bed and tuck it in at night and put it in a different room. That's what you have to do. And that's just not me. Like, I'm the person that picks up my phone and checks my email the second I wake up. So I had to learn a lot of tactics this summer to slow it down and be really grateful, because holy crap, I could have died on that table. I had to sign DNR stuff and I didn't have an advance directive and I didn't remember, and to explain the state I was in, because my partner couldn't stay with me because of COVID. I was alone. I had to write her phone number in Sharpie on my freaking arm because I couldn't remember anything. But brain surgery went great. Is everybody with me? Is everybody still with me? I'm not trying to be an inspiration. I'm just telling you what happened. Okay, 1000%. Okay. And we're still going on this, but there's more. Am I okay on time? We're at 10:52. Okay.
Yeah, we just did about 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Okay, great. So I'm fine. So basically, brain surgery went great. They said that I recovered faster mentally than anyone that they've ever seen, which that was just luck. And I started to make my way back this summer, and started being, running again. And I used to kind of run competitively on trails and mountain, and I was so excited and everything was going great. And I was starting to ramp again. And then I started to have respiratory issues in June, and it started to become harder and harder for me to do vert. And I did a 100,000 foot vert challenge that was sponsored by Leadville with my partner. And it just started to get harder and harder. We thought it was COVID. I had to get COVID tested. I went through all the other tests. And then in August, I believe it was the very beginning of August, we did a chest scan, and it was the worst news that we could have gotten, which was the cancer was back. It's all over my chest. Although it was already stage 4 and metastatic, I was told that it was terminal, that the cancer would be what would eventually kill me. And they were going to throw everything they could at it. But 5 to 10 years would be a stretch. But I needed to start living for today. I found that out in August. And since August, where Headspace comes in, that is when I started to rely on Headspace. Not because I should meditate and I want to put together 30 days. And I've had meditate for 30 days in a row on my list for no joke years. And I was also a dormant user of Headspace. And I loved that it kept reminding me quietly to be hey, you want to try it again? And I'd be no. Well, I started to come back. And basically, I started to rely on Headspace since August. And the rule was that, I couldn't do anything for 3 months until I'd get my scans at the end of October. So I just sort of started doubling down on no time to waste, because I was like, okay, let's do it. And what I realized by doing that research that I did for that TED Talk, where I actually left out all the research in the beginning and completely spaced out, but now I can blame it on the fact that I had a giant brain tumor during my TEDx talk. And I would like to do another TEDx or regular TED in 2021. I'm just putting that out there. I think it would kill, and I know exactly the content that I want to talk about. But it's not, we don't fear death, right? We fear the extinction. We fear basically leaving this world without purpose, without having had like something significant. And I got something now. I got my thing. It's no time to waste. And again, I'm a marketer, so it's catchy. But No Time to Waste is all about confronting mortality. It's about crafting a life without regret. And it's about maximizing moments by focusing on what I think are the 3 things that are most important, which is gratitude, human connection, and joy. And it's what I talk about a lot in speaking engagements that are longer. It's what I talk about sometimes on Instagram, although I watch The Social Dilemma. I want to do a whole campaign called Don't Be a Social Dill. And I want to teach people how they can keep like social media in their life if they want, but like not have it run them. So across these different platforms, this is what I talk about. And what I started is I decided, all right, I'm going to do a real podcast. It started as Instagram Live. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a real podcast because I got nothing else to do. This is my job now. If I'm not going to go work at Headspace full time, which I would kind of like to, but I know I'm probably busy and you guys probably don't have anything open right now. But if I'm not going to go work at Headspace full time, I'm going to do this podcast and I'm going to just go all in. So I started the No Time to Waste podcast. I started it as Instagram Live. And these are some of the guests that I've already had on the pod. The podcast I'm finding is like the medium that was built for me, not writing a book. No. Hosting a podcast, pulling out stories from like dynamic people. This is what I was like born to do. And I also have like an incredible producer that I got connected with, who's like a 21-year-old savant. And like, we work great together. So just a couple names here. I don't know if anybody's heard of these guys, but we also have some people coming up. So we've got Justin Grunwald, who is that episode's gonna push on Wednesday. You can look him up. He's the husband of Gabe Grunwald, who was a star runner and passed away last year after a long and very public battle with a rare cancer. And I built a creepy one-way relationship with Gabe because she was the first one that I found out about, but you'll have to listen to that one. So that's dropping like, it's actually dropped now. Then we've got Amy Cuddy. Anybody ever heard of Amy Cuddy? She wrote the book Presence. She is not only just like an incredibly smart cookie who is a Harvard professor and a TED star talking about power posing, but she's also a roller skating deadhead. And I can't wait to talk to her. Other guests, we've got Tope Awatona. Has anybody heard of Calendly? Oh, shoot. And this guy, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he majored in circus arts. He like started this thing. It was supposed to be an event company. And then like it changed and pivoted. And his name's Andy. Do you guys know him? Have you guys heard of him? Yeah. So, okay. People have heard of that. So bottom line, I'm also interviewing someone back here at the Courtyard Marriott tomorrow because I don't want to risk it that I don't think I can talk about yet. But everybody will know him and I'm super excited. But basically like, this is my thing now. This is my baby. And I also want to become basically a Robin Hood of modern wellness. So what I did, for example, and I don't want to spend time on this because I want people to be able to ask questions in the last couple minutes, but I'm so passionate about Headspace. And I found this CBD product that's like totally legal, sold at sold it, integrated pharmacies that helped me with the brain steroids that basically, has anybody ever taken like a prednisone? Right? Prednisone, basically you're like, I'm on top of the world, or it could make you also crazy. The brain steroids that I have been on are basically 6.9x, call it 7 times stronger than prednisone. And at times I've had to take 4 of them a day. And it's been a terrible experience. And I have so much empathy for anyone who has ADHD, anyone who is bipolar or has manic episodes, because this Dex just like triggered my system and put me into a kind of limitless mental state, which was pretty cool. But also it was like Carrie at times from Homeland, like not on her meds, right? Where like she has a whole wall of like a world map and all of her crazy notes. And like her sister walks in and she's like, what's going on? And she's basically like, I know where the bombing's going to happen. It's going to happen in Qatar. And because of her unique mix of crazy, she's right. But like, not a great mom, not a great situation. I was like that at times on these steroids. So very powerful. So I came up with this as an idea. Terrible timing because it was during a staycation that I was supposed to be like spending with my partner, where I was like, I'm going to take $1,000 that I got from a speaking engagement and I'm going to convert that into Headspace subscriptions and the CBD product for 10 people. And I'm going to give it away every hour on the hour on Halloween. And basically I'm going to call it less trauma, more chill. So that's what I did. And I ran this little campaign just for fun. But basically what it was is a great example of how No Time to Waste is going to work. Where No Time to Waste is not going to be a 501c3. It is an S Corp, where I take revenue from the value that I deliver to companies in the form of speaking engagements, marketing consulting, product and user beta testing, and then potentially ad revenue from the podcast. And then I basically, which I learned from Ozark, kind of like wash that money and give it back to the world through health and wellness that they don't have access to. And I'm pretty excited about it. Does anyone think that's a good business model? Maybe I shouldn't be like sharing this right now, right? So I did it. I did it on a small scale on Halloween. And I also started giving it to friends and family. And guys, look at this. To me, when it doesn't matter where you're working, when things are getting tough, and you guys, I'm sure things are getting tough. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I'm sure your every day is not easy. For me, in my experience, knowing that the work that I was doing every day, that it was impacting people and it was helping the world, like that made the tough transitions or the tough news or the revised targets or the QBR prep that I now have to do or whatever it is, so much easier, because I was like, there's a reason why I'm doing this. So what you guys are looking at right now is legit, unedited, proactively sent to me thank yous and impact of the freaking what Headspace is doing for people, because it's becoming my favorite thing to gift to people. I have a lot of feedback on the screen, basically like running, I'm sure you guys are going to run holiday campaigns, but I just think gifting Headspace for the holidays is a fantastic idea. And I want to make it easier for people to basically go through that user flow, both on their phone and on the computer, so that they can buy multiple. Because if you check the tapes, you're going to see that Alison.Hadden@gmail.com has probably bought at least 100 in the last like week and a half alone. Anyway, does this feel good to see these kinds of things? And to be reminded, and these came through direct messages on Instagram. They came through texts back to me from guests that I've had on the show. They've come from some of my best friends, and they're 100% legit. So this is the impact you guys are having. This is the impact you're going to continue to have. And as your little secret brand ambassador or brand ninja or whatever the heck is happening, like I'm going to continue to spread the word about Headspace and make sure that people also know. I said on Instagram, I think yesterday, I was like, I also just realized I didn't ask permission from Headspace to like promote them or gift them or talk about them like I'm some ambassador. I think they're okay with it because I'm going to speak tomorrow. I was like, but I hope they're okay. Last thing, so spoiler alert, we're all going to die, guys. Every single one of us, right? I didn't tell you the most recent news. Basically, it's the last story I'll tell. We were waiting for the scan results at the end of October, right? That were going to tell us whether or not the chemo and everything I've been doing for the last 3 months is working. It was going to be a chest scan. We were also going to do a brain scan just to like check in, but I did a brain scan 3 months ago and everything was clear. And it was exactly it was, I'm just going to look. It was basically October 15th, which was a Thursday, that I went in for my brain scan in the morning. Wasn't worried because it was October 23rd that I was going to get the results of the test. And that night on October 15th, I was home alone because there was nothing to worry about. And I got a phone call from the nurse that was on duty that said, "Are you with anyone right now? Are you experiencing any physical symptoms? I'm so sorry to be the one to tell you this, but we have found another mass on your brain. This one's on your brain stem." So I found out I had another brain tumor in a different spot. And then I had to wait 7 days until the real scan came in that was going to tell me whether everything was working or we had to pivot and change course immediately because with my cancer and how aggressive and focused it is, which is very on brand for me personally, once we run out of treatment options, I have less than 6 months to live. So I had to wait for 6 days, knowing that I had a brain tumor, knowing that that's not great news, and knowing that if the cancer was continuing to spread in my chest despite the chemo, I'm running out of time. That week, that was just a couple weeks ago, I was in Headspace holding my pods all the time. It was my air. It went from an aspirational, I want to meditate 30 days in a row, to like, this is the only thing that is helping settle my system for a small period of time. And I also refused to listen to anyone other than Andy because his voice just became the voice that calmed me during that trauma. The last story I'll tell is it's the day I'm supposed to get the news of the call. It is Thursday, the 22nd, I believe, or Friday, Thursday, October 22nd. I'm at the brain radiologist with my partner going over what we think the plan is going to be to try and eradicate the new brain tumor that is on my brain stem. They say I have to watch a 15-minute video. And I'm like, I've had brain radiation before. Check the files. And basically, I was waiting for the call. I was waiting for the call that was supposed to come, and it could happen during this appointment. And they said, you have to watch the video. And I said, would you mind, could you just give my partner and I, like, it's about what? They're like, it's only about 7 minutes. I was like, would you mind shutting off the lights? We'll watch it ourselves so we can just kind of connect. And they were like, so of course, we'll give you 8 minutes. And I was like, thank you. And then they shut the door. And then literally I screamed at my partner, hold the phone, because my hand is shaking because I'm waiting for this phone call. And I say, hold the phone. I have to do Headspace. And I take my beanie and I put it over my head and I put my pods in. And for 8 minutes, I do Headspace. And I tell you this because that was, again, because it became my air. And I feel so passionate about it that I want to share it with everybody that I know. I encourage everybody. We're running out of time and I want to give any time left for questions, but I've done the research. Ernest Becker, the guy that wrote the Denial of Death, said basically guilt results from the unused life, right? From the unlived in us. I want to let you know that the call I got the next day from my oncologist said that although we do have the brain tumor to work with, my chest had an A+ response. And the chemo and everything that I'm doing in my body is working. So onward, we keep moving. I got time back. I got brain radiation over the course of the last 3 weeks that hopefully will show in a couple months that that tumor has been eradicated. We are in a whack-a-mole situation now. It is still terminal, but although I have to live like I may not be here next Christmas, there is a chance that I could live another 5 to 10 years, although the brain tumor was like not a good thing, but I'm going full send and I've got stuff to do and I've got people to interview and stories to tell and people to help with this message and companies like Headspace to offer my unpaid time to and help however I can. And I want to go full send exactly. And I want you guys to go full send as well, because this is all we've got, right? And I'll end with a quote. I love this quote because I feel like it's life for all of us, right? Life is amazing, and then it's awful, and then it's amazing again. And in between the amazing and the awful, it's ordinary and mundane and routine. So breathe in the amazing, hold on through the awful, relax and exhale during the ordinary, because that's just heartbreaking, soul healing, amazing, awful, ordinary life. And it's breathtakingly beautiful. I encourage you guys to try and keep the spirit of no time to waste alive every day, even despite the work that you guys are doing and the stress you're under. I am doing this as a passion project. If you go to notimetowasteproject.com/swag, we are doing custom engraved no time to waste bracelets, run for a limited time that will 100% of the proceeds will go benefit the Pink Fund, which is a small nonprofit that has given so far $4.5 million to newly diagnosed breast cancer patients who have lost their job or lost significant income as a result of their diagnosis. And the thing that's unique about the Pink Fund is they, instead of giving someone a check that they then would have to basically pay taxes on, they pay utilities, car payments, mortgage, they pay the person's bills for a period of time to take it off their plate and also avoid the taxes, which I think is incredible. And this is the picture of me from Ginger, a keynote that I did, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where Christine, the CMO, the only photo she puts on LinkedIn talking about how great the keynote was the one with me taking off my wig, which I promised them at the very end. And like, we didn't even get glamour wig. So the only thing I would ask is, can someone take a photo? Can someone take a screen grab of me right now? Because I can't see myself. Somebody take a screen grab.
I got it.
All right. Because like glamour wig never gets to come out. And that's it for me. I know I went super late. If there is time for questions, it's it's your call. But I also want to thank Stu, because even though we haven't talked since college, Stuart is the reason why I'm here. Stuart is the person that helped me get Andy on the podcast. Please subscribe and rate and review the podcast. It's the only way to get it out. Again, it's an honor to have been able to contribute or participate in any way with you guys, because I believe that you're doing great work and you're building an amazing product. And I do believe that it can help change the world.
Alison, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this incredible story with us. We are so grateful and so honored to have you with us today. Thank you for taking your story and turning it into such amazing and inspirational work. Just absolutely adore what you're doing. And for the Headspacers, we talk a lot about what we're doing each day and the gift that it is for us to be able to put a little bit of positivity, a little bit of health and happiness in the world. And, it's just so wonderful to be able to connect to a very specific way in which we have hopefully made a profound positive impact on one human being, who then takes that and exponentially disperses it around the world. So that is just an incredible connection for us to make. Very, very grateful to you.
Yeah. And I would just say, if anyone wants to connect with me, the easiest way to do it is to go to notimetowasteproject.com, go to contact. There's a form there. If you want to give me feedback, if you want to have questions, feel free. And for anybody that's on the line, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, if I see that you're from Headspace, also, I don't care anymore.